Phil, I got my big old ice cube right here. I got my old fashioned in a can. Crack this thing open.
Old fashioned in a can. That's pretty much this show. This
old
show,
fashioned in a can.
If you wanted to embody what we do as two individuals talking to each other about this game as routinely as we do, it's an old fashioned in a can.
Old fashioned in a can. It's not good, but it'll get the job done, right?
Is that our tagline or that thing's tagline?
It's no, this is tip top. Enjoy iced or straight from the can. If you're drinking old fashioned straight from the can, you're a maniac.
Well,
that's wild.
No, I wouldn't say you're a maniac. I think you just need somebody to step in.
You might need help.
You just might be sad.
Yeah, I get that. Phil, this is our first pre-modern episode on Returnal Dirtles, the new home of our pre-modern episode. So if you haven't subscribed yet and you're a fan of our pre-modern content, this is where that lives now. So that's an important thing that I should mention to everybody.
So, and if you want to know about our credentials in the space, if you're new here, Zac activated Phyrexian Portal at the Sacred Torch Showdown 3. What was it? 8 times?
8 times.
8 times. 8 times in a competitive event, he activated Phyrexian Portal. So,
and it would have been more, but people respected Phyrexian Portal way more than I thought they would.
Dude, you want to know what Phyrexian Portal is? I think Phyrexian Portal is the in-game manifestation of old-fashioned in a can.
Yes, it's not good, but people are afraid of anybody wielding one.
If you're doing it, people are like, we're going to need to step in here.
Yeah, something's up, and I'm not sure what it is, but I don't like it. Finding the right high-end cards for legacy, vintage, pre-modern, or old-school Magic can be challenging. That's where friends 3-for-1 Trading come in.
3-for-1 Trading is one of Europe's top Magic the Gathering retailers with an incredible selection of premium singles, sealed product, and even full sets, all available with free, fast, and secure worldwide shipping.
They add fresh inventory every Wednesday with weekly deals and discounts. So whether you're hunting for that elusive piece of power, a legacy staple, or something spicy for your collection, they've got you covered.
First high-end orders over $500 or €500, use the code EDFREE to get free worldwide shipping.
Check them out now at the number 3, the number 4, the number 1.gg/ED. That link takes you right to the shop and helps support the channel.
Huge thanks to 3-for-1 Trading for supporting the legacy community. Now back to the show.
Yeah, so we're going to do classic is a loaded word now. A pre-modern episode for the threat levels of the pre-modern cards that we've been tracking lately. And I'm going to quickly just roll down. I'm just going to name the cards so that we know what we're looking for. And then we'll talk about where they were last time. And then we'll go over to, since we now have an extension thanks to notsonic in our Discord, that shows us the threat level, does the work for us. And we'll talk about what threat level is and all that stuff in just a second. But so we're keeping track of Swords to Plowshares, Counterspell, Wasteland, Mishra's Factory, Mogg Fanatic, Phyrexian Dreadnought, Grim Lavamancer, Survival of the Fittest, Jackal Pup, Terravore, Wall of Roots, Exalted Angel, Wall of Blossoms, Squee, Masticore, and Chain of Vapor. Those are the cards that we've sort of been keeping our eye on for the last 6 months. This will be month 6 that we're looking. So we've got 2 sets of data previously, and then this will be our 3rd set of data as we look in basically 3 months after the last time we looked in.
Should we add, did you say Parallax Wave?
I did not add Parallax Wave. We can add Parallax Wave for sure.
It seems like that's
and I think there'll be a lot of cards that we add now that we can see it, because we can just snapshot this stuff instead of having to do the math on a spreadsheet, which it's just helpful. And we can, when we post this episode, we can obviously we can put these down, but I think it would just make more sense to share like a PowerPoint that just has like the snapshots as images that people can look at from that era, from that time. But I do want to do the math here because it will show us the delta, which I think is really important. So we're going to go over to, let's pop over to it. Our pre-modern most played cards. And we're starting here with Swords to Plowshares. Previously, Phil, Swords to Plowshares was percentage of decks was 37.8, and it was 3.6 per deck. And now we're looking at what?
36.4 and 3.7 per deck.
Okay. And the total threat number is
134.68. You know,
So
and
it dropped just a little bit.
what's cool now is thanks to this extension by Notsonic, we actually can just look straight up. If you're watching this video, you can just
Well,
see
you're going
the
to
three.
only be seeing the card. I'm gonna make sure that you pay attention to our podcast and not just look at the numbers and
Well,
click off.
Now, if
You
there
can
are
do
any
it
cards,
yourself for sure.
if there are any cards that are not on our list that we're talking about, and you're like, I'd be curious about this thing and want to go check it out, now you can.
Yeah.
That extension is in our.
We'll link the description.
We'll link it,
Yeah.
and it's great. So and
big
there's
ups to Notsonic in our Discord for hooking that up, because that is it's a very cool piece of technology that we've unleashed here.
super cool, and also for our peak and classic friends, you also now get to see legality on Scryfall with the same extension, which is so hot.
Very cool. Also, I guess I should tell everybody how we come to this threat number. You take the percentage index and times it by the average number index, and you get a number between 0 and 400, because that would be playing 100% of decks, play 4 of them, right? And that number is expressed in our unit of measurement for threats, the Blackman. So that is the important thing to note about that level of detail here.
And we typically in Premodern, we cover like a lot of the most played cards, or something like Source of Plowshares, where typically when we do threat assessment or threat level, it's regarding cards that more or less can end the game, that are the things that people sort of have to build around or respect. And there is some amount of like, yes, you do have to think about removal or answers. But for the most part, answers don't typically win games on their own. So the threat level for answers, in this case, something like Swords to Plowshares, it's like, okay, Swords to Plowshares is very good. Its threat level is at 134.68 as we're recording this. But if anything is really high, if that were a threat that is sort of showing itself across the format, where then the thing that's winning a lot of games or the experience that you're having is often the same, where a Source to Plowshares is removal in the same way that a lot of other removal spells are going to removal, and that it removes a threat. Yes, it exiles, and there's implications to that. But for the most part, if a threat exceeds 100 threat level, once it hits that 100 mark, that's where we start to see, okay, the ubiquity of this threat in the format is maybe something that should be a little red flaggy.
Well, that's the case in Legacy for sure. But I think that the diversity of this format is so wide, there are so many people playing so many decks, that number is probably a little lower for Premodern. Because you don't, and we can speak to the health of Premodern here, because you almost never see a threat at 100. There's not that level of ubiquity of deck builds in Premodern, where you're seeing like 25% of decks playing 4 of a card that would get you to that 100 threat level. In fact, just a look, I just want to real quick look. I think the highest threat level for an actual threat is 87, Phil, and that's Mishra's Factory, a card that conceivably you could play 4 of in almost every deck in this format, and even that card only gets to about 87 threat. Blackman's 83 as of the last time we checked in, actually.
Yeah, I wonder if we had done the guess the card at before the episode started. What is the most played threat in the format? If people would say Mishra's Factory, probably, right?
Yeah, I think I mean the highest threat level of a card in the format for sure. It is not the most played card in the format, I don't think. I think the most played card in the format is probably Swords to Plowshares. It's played in the most decks, and it's the highest, almost the highest. There's a 3.8 somewhere of Portent is a little bit higher, but it's only played in 20% of decks. So Swords of Plowshares is the most played card in the format. But
I'm actually surprised to see Gush at only, like, it is in 20.2% of decks, but it is in 4 copies in all of those decks. And I feel like
you don't play like 3 Gush.
Well, no, I've seen the decks.
What are you, Adam?
I've seen the decks that are that the old parfait lists move around back and forth. Like, once land tax was banned, those types of like 3-color control-ish decks that could only support 9 islands instead of 18 islands or whatever. It's like, okay, well, that's significant, and if you can get glutted on Gushes pretty badly early. So I've seen like players play 2 or 3 Gush in those things as a way to like compensate, where you're like, really want this broken thing, can't really support 4 of them because of how bad the mana is in the format. But that also might just be in this snapshot that those decks just have not shown up in, the recent fortnight.
Yeah, it's also interesting to think about the mana base for this format. You would think that look, Wasteland and Mishra's Factory are obviously the 2 most played lands, but after that, if I were to make you guess, type below right now. I'm going to give everybody a second and have you type below what the next land that is the most ubiquitous in this format is. The next highest threat level in the format for a land is, and I'll give you 3, 2. Wooded Foothills is the next highest played land in the format after Wasteland and Mishra's Factory.
Would you have guessed that Wooded Foothills sees more play than Flooded Strand?
Flooded Strand or Polluted Delta, even, right? Like it's odd that a blue fetch isn't the next thing, because if we look at like Legacy, that's how it is in Legacy, right?
What's also crazy is that a blue fetch is in most cards played not even in the top 20.
Pretty wild.
Counterspell is the 4th most played card. It's in 27% of decks at nearly 4 copies apiece.
Yeah. And we should talk about, so Counterspell is the second card that we track on this. And last time we looked, Counterspell was at 84.24 threat level. And now it's at 105.3. I wonder what that even means, Phil.
Yo, square this circle, dude. 2 of the 4 most played cards are Source of Plowshares and Counterspell, but Flooded Strand is not in the top 20.
That is wild.
How does that happen? How does that work?
That is a conundrum wrapped in a fortune cookie right there, man.
Dude, I mean, given that the only 2 lands... Oh, no, I'm sorry, 3 lands? 4 lands. No, yeah, okay, 4 lands. 5 lands. All the lands, Zach. But the most played land that produces color is actually City of Brass, and that might be the inclination that it's like, yeah, this, like, the best mana bases in this format might actually just be like City of Brass Gemstone Mine.
Yeah, dude, get wonk.
Get wonk.
Eternal Dirtles is proud to be sponsored by Moxfield. Moxfield is the best Magic the Gathering deck building website on the internet. You can create, share, and find decks from Commander to Legacy and even fan-supported formats like Premodern and Old School. You can see all of our decks on our Moxfield. Follow the links below to stay tuned. All right, so after that, we have Mogg Fanatic. Previously, Mogg Fanatic was at 63.6, and now Mogg Fanatic...
It's gone up. It's at 71.6.
71. Decks are getting... So, and Mogg Fanatic is an interesting one, Phil, because out of all of the threat... This is the first creature on the list, by the way, Mogg Fanatic. And Mogg Fanatic sits in an interesting place because it's played in 2 decks. 2 highly played decks. It's played in Goblins, of course, but it's also played in Red Deck Wins, in Burn, right?
I would say it's the first creature on this format if you don't count Mishra's Factory.
If you don't count Mishra, sure. If you don't count Mishra's Factory. But it's not the first threat, obviously, but it is the first like creature card type. And if you look, it's 17.9% of decks are playing it. And now I just want to show people the cool thing about doing this math. And this is in the last 2 weeks. So let's change it to 2 months, just because I always forget to do that. So Swords to Plowshares was at 36. It's now at 37. Wasteland was at 84. At 98, and it's now at 94. Foothills 92. Counterspell 102. It previously was at 84, so that did go up. And then Factory is at 85. It was previously at 83. So it went up as well. So just so we're on the same page with the cadence of the time that we check in on these things. But if we go to Creature, Phil, Mogg Fanatic is at 18.6 decks played. If we look at the next creature, it's Grim Lavamancer at 12.6, right? But if we go down to the next Goblin that's played primarily in a Goblin deck, 7.1 or 7% of decks play Goblin Matron, Goblin Gem Palm Incinerator, all the goblins that you would expect, right? Like all these goblins are 7%, which means
pretty much
that
if you
7% of the metagame is goblins.
Goblins,
right?
yeah. You look at the most played creatures, and there's just a pocket of the goblins with all the same numbers.
Yeah. So if you see 7% plus, then the Grim Lavamancer is at 12.6%, right? That almost adds up to that's close to 19, which is about where Mogg Fanatic sits as far as number of decks played. So that's pretty interesting that you can like extrapolate that math off of looking at those creatures.
Yeah. Also, these Goblin Sharpshooter numbers are too low. We're gonna need to get those numbers up. The card way too good for only a single copy here.
Yeah, and what's funny about Goblin Sharpshooter is you can play it in non-Goblin decks. Like it does work in non-Goblin decks.
It doesn't care that it's a goblin. Like it works.
It definitely does not care that it's a goblin.
Like
it's a goblin with a gun.
Goblin Matron cares that it's a goblin, right? Like
sure.
Your
Lackey
war
does,
chief,
of course,
your war chief and lackey care that it's a goblin, but Sharpshooter doesn't give a shit that it's a goblin.
Yeah. Ringleader, yeah. Tinker doesn't care.
Did you know that there was an interview with Richard Garfield where like the name was supposed to be like Gatling Goblin or something like that? And that's why it has a Gatling gun, but like they didn't want to.
He has. Like we've jumped the shark on times where we actually care what the technology level is on a Magic the Gathering card. But I used to get so upset about the card Vengeance from Portal because it was just a woman with a gun, and I was like, "Why do you have a gun? There are wizards shoot lightning bolts at people."
My take on Goblin Sharpshooter is that it's a Gatling gun where it's just a wheel that's like firing rocks through a barrel. That is also like, handmade by the goblins. And at any point, I wouldn't be surprised if this Gatling gun like accidentally like shot himself because it like misfired or something. So, all good. But like, can you imagine if there was a thing called Gatling Gun Goblin? It was just GGG. That'd be crazy. But they said they didn't put Gatling in because they didn't want to have like a named gun in the game.
Yeah, makes sense. Phyrexian Dreadnought at 12.4% of the metagame with 4 copies in every deck. Now, there are multiple Phyrexian Dreadnought decks now. There is an HFEB variant that plays the Phyrexian Dreadnought. There is the Threshnought deck, popularized by Jerry Mee.
I think of Phyrexian Dreadnought, even though Mono Blue is the most common deck that it's in, I don't view Phyrexian Dreadnought as like, oh, it's a Phyrexian Dreadnought deck as opposed to it's just the package of 12 cards, right? Yeah. It's like, okay, here's the...
Or 16 if you're playing that 03 that like copies power, right? That's what the Dreadnought deck does.
But like, in general, it's like 4 Dreadnought, 4 Stifle, 4 Vision Charm. That's the Dreadnought shell. You can throw that into any deck that has the capacity to make blue mana in the same way that like Stoneforge Mystics decks were like that plus some equipment, or like, I don't know, package like nowadays in Legacy there's like the Urza Saga packages where it's Urza Saga plus the gnome packages for whatever it is. Like, this is the Phyrexian Dreadnought package. It exists and it will continue to exist as like one of the better packages in that like it takes up 12 slots and those 12 slots can win the game on their own with no assistance.
Yeah,
it's really good.
So this threat number is 49.6 Blackmans. Now, I want to stop where we are right now because this is one of the most oppressive decks in the format, and you had mentioned that you wanted to see numbers on Parallax Wave, right? I think this is a good time to compare and contrast Phyrexian Dreadnought and Parallax Wave and see which one is more potent, or is at least more played, right? Parallax Wave at 14.2% of decks playing it at 3.2 average per deck, 45.44 Blackmans. So very close, Phil.
Yeah,
very close.
I mean, there's between Replenish and Enchantress, Parallax Wave shows up in a bunch of decks in the same way that like you could argue that either of those is the primary Parallax Wave deck in the same way that Phyrexian Dreadnought is typically mono blue, but then, show the package of Dreadnought shows up in a bunch of other decks as well, or like, a sideboard pivot, or the Cephalid Breakfast decks like might have some number of Dreadnought in them, in that like it's also a thing to remove for the zombie that, becomes big and attacks. So there's use for all that. But then, the actual use for Parallax Wave and Opalescence, if you can make white mana and care about that, that's, right now there are two primary decks that do that. But like that is also a package that you could just play. Like you could play Opalescence, Parallax Wave in like blue-white control, and instead of Wrath of God, like that's totally like I don't know if it's unreasonable, but it's something that you have the capacity to do. Like I saw sneak attack in goblins the other day.
Hoo-ha.
Hoo-ha. Dude, also, let's go back to creatures. Because
Well, wait. Before we go back to creatures, I do want to talk about one other enchantment here. There's a couple other enchantments that we should talk about. One of them is Survival of the Fittest. Survival of the Fittest was previously at 8.8 at 4 copies at 35.2 Blackmans. And now it's 9.8 at 4 copies at 39.2 Blackmans. So a little bit of change there. Let's go back to creatures, though.
I don't want to go back to creatures to necessarily talk about another common threat as much as I want to talk about just, final nod on goblins. The second most played goblin is actually our boy Squee.
Technically, yes. Again, another card that does not care if it's a goblin.
No, he's a nabob. You gotta care that the nabob is a gnob.
What's interesting about Squee is that it's played in more decks, but it's a 1.3 in those decks. So it's only a 13.13 Blackman rating.
Just because it's just in all the Survival of the Fittest decks.
Yeah,
Although you and I are homies, we like intuitioning for our Squees.
Hell yeah. I intuition for Squees and then drop them into zombie infestations.
And I play with, I like brewing Squee decks just so I can, try and figure out what's the best combination of cards. So that way my deck can be called like Tight Squeeze.
All right. Next up, Phil. Jackal Pup. Jackal Pup will probably also give us the number.
7/4.
Yeah, Jackal Pup at 7/4. So that's interesting because Jackal Pup won't appear in anything aside from Burn, right? Like no one's playing Jackal Pup for anything, maybe green red Burn, but like
dude,
Burn.
I'll play blue-white Jackal Pup. You don't know. I'll play blue-white controls
at
play Jackal Pup.
7.4 at 4.0, 29.6 Blackmans, as opposed to Grim Lavamancer that's seeing 12.6 at 3.7. Almost another 20 Blackmans on that one at 46.62, right? So I think the burn numbers you're looking for are actually closer to 7.4% of the metagame. And we can look at that in a second and see how close it is. In fact, let's do that. I want to look real fast. Where are we at here? Aggro. So we'll consider Sly as 9.9% and then Goblins at 7%.
Yeah, click 2 months instead of 2 weeks, and then I'll give you
2 months. Yeah. So 8%, closer to what I was thinking about, and then Goblins at 7. Interesting to look at that data and see what's going on with that. All right, so then we have Terravore.
Dude, Portent in 18.4% of decks, but 3.9 copies. Who is cutting a Portent? Who's like, you know what I need to do? Cut a
1% of a guy.
1% of a 1% of a person is just like. It's like, I don't need this fourth Portent. Fourth Portent is training wheels.
Yeah. I'm not trying to waste my slots on a Portent. It's probably Adam. He loves a 3 of. Terravore, 9.7 at 3.8 for 36.86 Blackmans. Previously, 8.8, 3.7 at 32.56 Blackmans. So a bit of a delta there, like 4 Blackman increase. Wall of Roots is 8.6, 2.9 at 24.94 Blackmans, as opposed to the 26.3. So it has dropped a little bit, like about 2 points.
Dude, looking at these cards, I just want to real quickly say the modern card frame looks so much worse. Yeah, this OG card frame is just way better. It's just like, and even this close.
Is even a time spiral version of the card. It still looks better.
It's using the old border frame, and it just looks so much better.
All right, Exalted Angel, Phil.
Bro,
Exalted Angel, 7.8, 2.3 at 17.94. This gives you a good idea of pivot plans too. A lot of decks play this in the sideboard. 17.94 previously. Wow. This is a giant drop, Phil. Previously, 28.6 0.5.
Yep.
That's a giant drop. What happened?
I wonder, what do you think happened?
I think people just aren't playing. This is people have figured out this is a sideboard card and they're keeping the removal in, so people are going to like Brain Freeze or other I guess different options. That would be my guess.
I'm also actually surprised to see in the top 20 creatures, and it might be a New York thing, but I see Meddling Mage a lot, and I'm actually surprised to see Meddling Mage not in the top 20.
I wonder where Meddling Mage is. Let's see, is it 1 or 2 over? There it is. Meddling Mage is 14.76. We only played in 4% of decks because not a lot of people are playing blue-white, Phil. People play mono-blue.
I get that that it's 2 colors is a minimization, but like this is also where like a good thing to state that like threat level and these numbers are the format at large with the data that is being pulled onto MTG Top 8, which might not actually reflect personal experience because personal experience I run into Meddling Mage a lot more than 4% of my matches.
You also are pretty soft to Meddling Mage. And decks that play Meddling Mage generally draw games, and you generally draw games. So it could just be confirmation bias of maybe you need to put more threats in your deck, Phil.
Wow. Sometimes I try and like look at data and be even-handed and be like, hey, maybe your experience is not necessarily in tandem with the data that we're looking at, and you should be mindful of that as you're looking at these numbers. And then Zac has to take the opportunity to just fucking shank me. Just take the shanks.
All right, Wall of Blossoms, 4.8, 3.0, 14.40, as opposed to its previous 22.36. A lot has changed in the last 3 months, man.
It really has.
People are playing more threats, less air. Like Wall of Roots and Wall of Blossoms have dropped significantly.
Dude, we need to... speaking of more threats, so Withered Wretch is the 21st played creature in the format at 6.8, 3.1 copies in that percentage for a threat level of 21.08 Blackmans. And, dude, we got to talk about the zombie, the triple black zombie 2/2 that tap a zombie to turn a land into a swamp.
What?
Do you know the zombie that's black, black, black for a 2/2, and you can tap a zombie to make any land a swamp
forever
until end of turn? Until end of turn.
No, I don't know anything about that. I play Contamination like a normal person.
Bro, we need to look up this zombie. I can't do it because otherwise my streaming thing will just start to shit out. But like this zombie, dude, I knew it existed. I remember it from the before times. But I saw it the other day and I was like, this shit is busted, dude. Everybody's trying to like Dark Ritual out their hippie. And it's like, dude, Dark Ritual out this zombie. Go. And now every land that you play for the rest of the game that if you don't want to produce black mana is a Lotus Petal.
All right, here we go.
Zombie Trailblazer, dude. Look at this thing. Tap an untapped zombie you control. It does not. They don't. It's not summoning sick. Just gets to happen. Tap target land becomes a swamp until end of turn. In their upkeep, everybody's been Rashad importing, and Zombie Trailblazer's been here the whole time, dude. Look at it this way: Dark Ritual, Zombie Trailblazer. Go. You play your thing. Whatever. On my turn, 2/1 drops, and now for the rest of the game, all of your non-black mana is a Lotus Petal.
Phil, here, let me just as a Lotus Petal.
Dude, in your upkeep, make your fucking forest a swamp. It doesn't produce green mana anymore for your turn. No creatures being cast off
I see what you're saying. Is a Lotus Petals and you only get to use it once. I am intrigued by this card, specifically, Phil, in a slightly deeper into black zombie infestation deck.
Dude, now we're talking. Dude, this is the kind of card that could get me to not register Gush. Like I would be willing to not register Gush because this thing seems so busted to me.
You're just like, how can I punish my opponent in a way that's stasis but not stasis?
Dude, like like you go turn 1 Zombie Trailblazer, they read it. They're like, okay, and then they read the second line of text, and they're like, okay, whatever. And then they play their turn, and then they see what's about to happen. And then you'll just see the breath leave their body, dude. How would it not? You would just know that like this is about to happen. It's so good.
Biggest concern, and it's a valid concern, is that there's this card that you can cast at instant speed that can remove this from the game.
But that's
It's
every
called Swords to
threat, dude.
Plowshares.
That's yeah. But they can't. They have to draw it, and then they're not going to be able to use it until their next turn. Unless they also have a white source to deploy that turn. So they're going to have to like sandbag their lands. That way they don't get turned off, or they're going to have to wait a full turn cycle. And you're in black, dude. You'll play Cabal Therapy or Duress, and you'll strip that shit. This card's crazy good. I will never ever accept the argument that like, oh, this thing isn't good because
dice to removal is obviously
dice to removal is horseshit.
But
of course, it's dice removal. I think it's dice removal in this format.
I just do want to point out that like it's a pretty easy because Swords to Plowshares is the most played card in the format. You could expect to cast this and then watch it die immediately. That's all.
Dude, the reason this format is good is because threats die to removal. That's not always the case in the other formats, But
agreed. I'm not arguing for a hexproof version of this card.
What's the threat level for Zombie Trailblazer? Let's look that up real quick.
It looks like you're enjoying the show. Support Eternal Dirtles by becoming a member of Patreon or YouTube. The Dirtle Maniac tier gives you early access to every video completely ad-free. You can level up your game with our Masterclass tier, which includes everything from Dirtle Maniac, plus access to our complete library of deck Masterclass episodes, deep dives into Magic's most iconic archetypes. Your support helps us create more for you. Join us and become a member. There's no way we're going to ever find Zombie Trailblazer in any of these cards.
The end. Let's look it up. Find it.
We're going to org.
Yeah, go to the end. Okay, so Xanthan Swarm is played in no decks, but somehow at 1 copy on average. Dude, Taniwa? What's Taniwa? It's played in 0 copies of decks, 0% of decks, but it has 4 copies.
But you're playing 4 of them. The data gets weird when you get into the very low numbers.
We gotta. Oh, dude, Questing Feldegrif. All right,
there you go. Warrior in Core is the first time we're seeing cards in decks and cards.
Dude, okay, Zombie Cutthroat. We're getting closer. Hold on. Rootwater Thief, Rootwater Diver.
Where's Rootwater?
Rootwater Diver is right
there.
Rootwater
Diver is not Rootwater Thief.
Sorry, Rootwater Diver is in 0.1% of decks and 2 copies though.
Yeah,
people out here brewing.
Keep going. Yeah. Paladin and Vec, a classic.
Zombie Trailblazer getting into the upper. Nicol Bolas, dude. Nicol Bolas's threat level is 0.1% or 0.1 Blackmans.
The OG.
Dude, Phyrexian Negator? Man, what
Phyrexian Negator?
Phyrexian Negator's in
Rager.
Dude, Phyrexian Negator at the bottom here at 0.1% of decks at 3 copies. It's
because sometimes people just throw them into like the sideboard.
Would you have guessed that it's so low?
I would not have guessed that it was that low. Bloodfire Colossus is higher than Phyrexian Negator, which is wild.
Dude, people are playing True Believer more than they're playing Phyrexian Negator.
True Believer is not bad though.
True Believer is a way to beat Oath, dude.
Yeah. Org. I'm a big fan of Org.
Dude, who's not? Yo, Orcish Lumberjack is on the move, dude. Orcish Lumberjack increasing 0.2% of decks at 3 copies, 0.6 Blackmans. Yo.
Orcish Librarian right next to him. So we can assume that 0.2% of decks are Orc decks.
Yeah, but and that's true because Org is also on this list as well here.
Yes, also Org.
Okay,
Org, not an Orc.
Dude, Undead Gladiator, 0.2% of decks at 1.2 copies for 0.24 Blackmans.
Undead Gladiator does see play in Black-White Control as a one-of.
Desolation
Which makes
Angel?
Because that's probably about the 0.2% is about how often you're going to face a Black-White Control deck.
Dude, Kesa? What's Kesa?
I love Body Snatcher. Look at this art, dude. Body Snatcher is so rad.
Kesa's a green creature?
Kesa is a green creature that gives +1/+1 to other green creatures? Hell yeah.
Wow, dude. 5 mana for a 2/3?
And also, it's not a 2/3, Phil.
I can't read it.
It's a 3/4.
Dude, the reason that this frame is so good...
Because it's giving all green creatures +1/+1, not all other.
Oh, you mean that when it's on the board, it's a 3/4, but you can tutor it, right? With the
sure.
the thing, with the thing that cares about power. You know that thing. Imperial Recruiter. You know, the card that's almost pre-modern legal.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, Smarksmith and its big head 0.2.
Wow. Phoenix.
Phoenix.
I'm literally the reason that this card is even on this list because I'm playing 2 of them.
Bro, Lord of the Undead. More zombies are showing up at these numbers. I'm looking for Trailblazer, though. Where's Trailblazer at? Yeah, so we're seeing that the Mono Black Clerics deck is showing up right here at 0.3% of the meta.
What, Scion of Darkness, Shaman Core,
Yeah, Dark Supplicant.
Dark Supplicant, Daru Spiritualist,
So that's good on them. Good on them.
Cephal Illusionist,
Dude, Gamekeeper showing up in this format. There you go.
Gamekeeper. There you go.
Gotta respect Gamekeeper. Zombie Trailblazer, though, where are you?
I like Skittering Scourge. I have
Dude.
not seen Zombie Trailblazer yet.
Bro,
it's possible, Phil, that it's not on this list.
I'm not joking, dude.
It's insane that Veteran Brawlers is being played more often than Phyrexian Dreadnought. Or not Phyrexian, sorry, Phyrexian Negator.
Bro, I'm like
What?
very tempted to just bring Zombie Trailblazer deck to fucking Duress Fest. They passed the threshold. It's happening. And I might just bring Zombie Trailblazer, bro.
Let's get through the rest of these threats. We've got Squee, we already talked about. Previously it was 12.6, it's now 13.13.
Yo, John Finkel showing up at 0.5%? Nearly 3 copies in 0.5% of decks?
There he is.
Finkel's got 1.45 threat level?
Yeah, rough.
What do you mean rough? That's a great number for that card to show up at.
I mean,
I didn't know it would show up at all. Who would have thought?
But there was a time when that was like a $20 card before people realized that Psychotog was just 1,000 times better.
Or that Zombie
Masticore.
Trailblazer exists.
Let's talk about Masticore.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Where we at, Masticore? There it is. Masticore, 4.6 at 1.1 for a 5.06. Previously, it was at 7.44. Again, another drop here.
Dude.
And then finally, Phil, let's go to Instance.
Graveborn Muse, dude, showing up at 11 threat level.
Yeah, that's believable. Chain of Vapor, 14.4 at 1.8 for a 25.92. Previously, 16.74. That's a giant jump for Chain of Vapor.
It's a giant jump, but it's sub 2 copies on average per deck.
Yeah, it was sub 2 copies on average per deck here too. I think that's because it's occasionally a sideboard card. It's probably a sideboard card in decks more often than it is a 4 of in. But it's weird though because like I think actually no, I think Dreadnought plays like 1 or 2 often.
Dude, 9% of the format is Dark Ritual. Dark
Yeah,
Ritual has 36 Blackmans, and because it's 9%, 4 copies in each, of course. You know,
Stifle
here's the thing.
at 49.53% black or 53 Blackmans.
Dude, look at it this way: Dark Ritual, 9%, 4 copies. Portent, right? Portent.
Where you at, Portent? Where's it at? Why are you hiding
2?
from me?
Page 2?
It's a damn sorcery, Phil. Portent. There it is. I found it.
So Portent is in 3.9%, 3.9 on average in its 18.4% of decks. For all whoever the homie is that's cutting the Portent, that would be like playing. That would be like playing 3 Dark Ritual. All right, that's like you know what? I don't need this
for
Dark
3
Ritual.
Togs so that he can.
I don't need it.
He can fit like another Factor Fiction or Deep Analysis in this.
I
deck.
hope somebody is inspired to play a 3 Portent, 3 Dark Ritual deck just to stick it to us while they're drinking an old fashioned out of a can.
Out of a can. Yeah. So again, if you guys love our pre-modern content, and we hope you do, please do remember to subscribe to Returnal Durdles. That's the new channel where you'll find all of our pre-modern content. We also have classic, all the locked formats, but all of that will be here on Returnal Durdles. You won't find pre-modern content on Eternal Durdles anymore. We're starting a new channel specifically for pre-modern and classic and the other locked formats. So if that's something you're interested in, it would very much help us if you subscribe, because the thresholds for monetization for YouTube is about to change in February. And if we haven't reached monetization by then, that spells trouble for us.
It'll take double the amount of time. The numbers are literally double. We need to hit
double. So
we need to hit 1K subscribers and 4,000 watch hours by February, because in February it literally doubles the amount of watch hours before they will accept you, and we can't be having that. We can't be doing that.
If you've watched to this point, I mean, come on, we've entertained you for at least a half an hour. And additionally, if you're listening on an audio platform, go over to YouTube real fast and just hook us up and find Returnal Dirtles and subscribe to that, so that we can just get a little bit further closer to that. I know there are a lot of people out there who only listen to us on audio formats, and this is the one time I'm going to ask you, please just go over and subscribe to that. Hey, give the episode a watch too. That'd be great. But more importantly, subscribe.
This interim, because we started Returnal Dirtles, this interim until we can get it to the threshold where like YouTube will just recognize the channel in a meaningful way, it's like your click of those buttons, the actual smashing of that subscribe button, right now it'll have more weight than it will
so much impact
like at any other point. So take care of us, and then we'll take care of you by sharing this absolutely cracked Zombie Trailblazer deck list.
Well, there's that for sure, but I plan on if we can get this demonetized, right? When we do Duress Fest, I want to have a lot of like cool stuff to give out. I want to have like stickers, patches. Like I want to go all out for Duress Fest, and the money that we make from this channel is going to involve like that, getting that stuff. So that's a very big, very important milestone for us. And if you're interested in Classic, this is the home for Classic 2, which will also be at Duress Fest. So this is you really can't beat it with this channel. This is going to be a really fun place, and we've got a lot of really cool content in the whole that we really plan on kind of revamping how we make content. So,
and isn't
I'm
your
excited.
favorite kind of content has to be the kind that's in the hole? We all love content in the hole,
in the pocket,
in there,
way
down in there.
Thank you all for watching. If you do happen to have that proclivity, you can subscribe to us on Patreon at patreon.com/EternalDirtles. And if you want to write an article about this or any of the other formats that Eternal Dirtles, Returnal Dirtles, or Sorcery, our Sorcery channel, Common Sense talks about, you can go to eternaldirtles.com and hit submit an article, and that will set you on the path to do that. Thank you for watching. We'll check you on the next Blackman threat level thing that we do in 2 months.
Zombie Trailblazer, bro.
Zombie Trailblazer.